Hello, everyone. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Today, we're back with romantic comedy author KJ Micciche. Thanks for joining us today, KJ.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we are looking forward to discussing MFA, Master of Fine Arts, and you have completed that. So we are really interested to hear all about it.
Thank you. Yes. So I decided to become an author as a midlife crisis, which is a fun story to tell. I had just turned 40 and I had checked off all the boxes of all the like major things you want to do in your life, right? I have the kids, I have the house, I have the husband, he's lovely, vacation house, like all the things, good job, all is good. And I found myself kind of like itching, like, what are the big life dreams that I want to accomplish before I die? Because obviously death
Mm.
is imminent now that I'm 40. That's a joke. Hopefully, right? Hopefully. But anyway, so I always wanted to be an author, and I run a center for children with dyslexia. I believe that reading is just a gift. And so I decided to go back to school for my MFA after having been out of school for like 20 years or so.
Mm.
And it was a real experience. And I wrote about it as the basis of my second book, A Storybook Wedding, where the main character goes back, not at 40, she goes back at like 30, to get her master's in fine arts in creative writing in an attempt to become an author as well. I just think it's an amazing experience, and I am so happy that I did it.
Wow, that's really neat. So, I've got a couple questions for you about it for our authors that are interested in getting an MFA. What specific skills and knowledge did you gain, the main ones from the MFA program that you couldn't per se develop on your own or through other means?
Well, so first of all, it forces you to write. Like no
Mm.
matter what, like everything is an assignment, a deadline. It's all, you have no choice. You have to write. And I think that the discipline that you develop in an MFA program is something that you can carry with you into an author career.
Mm.
Um, we're busy. We're busy people, right? We have, especially as I just told you, I have that whole list of things. Those are all things that keep me very busy, my job, my kids, my family, right?
Right.
So having to set aside that time to learn how to develop yourself as a writer, professionally and not just as a hobbyist, I think is a really important skill that you'll learn. But more than that, I learned the craft of writing because I'm a reader. Sure, I mean, I was a reader first, but I could dive into craft in a way where I was actually studying it, right? Like where I could understand that, like, this is why the novel works this way. This is how to appropriately place backstory. This is how you weave together these different components like a braid so that that way you're dropping information at the right times.
Right.
And things like that are, I mean, I know that there are some fabulous books out there that one can read if they're looking to study this on their own. But I don't think I would have had the self-discipline to do that, like many people do, especially with such a busy career.
Mm.
So going back for something that was very structured worked very well for me.
Right. I imagine that would for many people. Sometimes you just have to have the deadlines and the professors, et cetera. And
Exactly.
yeah, and on the note of just the professionalism of it all, did it help you build a professional network with literary and publishing communities?
Yes, but not as much as I thought it would. I kind of assumed I was like, oh, you get your MFA, and then like all of a sudden you're so connected and you're gonna have an agent like this and da 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 da. Not so much. The
Mm.
MFA is truly a master's in fine arts. So you learn the art and the craft. And that's where
Mm.
if you want a master's in publishing, that's a totally different thing. If you want to like business networking situation, that's again a totally different thing. So yes, they would bring in agents to talk to us. They would bring in, the occasional editor or something like that so that we could like have conversations about what the industry demands. But really at the end of the day, the goal is the thesis, right? And the thesis is supposed to be a completed work of about 125 pages. And for me, it was just a completely different experience because I was hugely prolific, shockingly so. And I wrote 4 novels in 4 semesters. I wrote a novel every semester while I was
Wow.
there. So so I ended up doing all of the study on the side about the publishing industry and about, how to get an agent and all of that stuff. Like it certainly wasn't spare time, but like on my own concurrently while I was going through the master's program.
Wow, that's a lot. A novel every semester. That's
Yeah,
quick work.
it was. And it was, you know what it was? I had caught the bug. I was like, I'm here and I'm not young and I better learn this now because I feel like it's a last opportunity. You know what I mean? Like that, like, I don't know, something happens when you turn 40. You're probably not there yet. You look very, very young. But like when you turn 40, something happens kind of like all of a sudden you're like, okay, I have to seize the opportunities that life gives me when they arrive because
Mm,
some opportunities just don't come up again. And I knew that I desperately wanted to do this. And so I said, well, I will immerse myself fully in all of it because this moment is a gift. And so
mm.
the time that I spent in my MFA program was such a gift and I wasted none of it. So I'm really, really happy about that.
And in regard to MFA programs, and just I don't know if you know anyone that has done another MFA program, but could you speak a little bit on maybe how some may vary in terms of their curriculum focuses?
Sure, absolutely. So there are curriculum focuses that are different, right? So in mine, there was fiction or nonfiction or poetry. Those were the three kind of things you could gravitate towards. Some folks tried to do more than one, or would dabble in each to sort of see where they felt most comfortable.
Mm.
I knew right away that I was fiction. I will say also that MFAs don't lend themselves to be particularly genre. So if you know that you're going in, you're like, I want to be a romance author. That is not the jam at an MFA. Like, know that. The work is predominantly very literary, and most of what you're going to read is extremely literary. But you have to be okay with that and be okay with yourself and what it is that you're writing, because typically MFA programs do accept all genres, but it's a little highbrow in my
Mm,
or it can be anyway. Um, I think more than just curriculum focus, MFA programs can vary in terms of structure. So there are those that are traditional where you're going to go back to school the same way you would if you were going for an undergrad, right? You're going to show up at a building throughout the course of these 2 years consistently. And
okay.
then there are others that are totally online, right? Which for some is very comfortable. And then there was mine, which was like a hybrid kind of mix of it's called a low residency model. So we would go away to this gorgeous island off of Mystic, Connecticut called Ender's Island for
Wow.
8 days. And you had an intensive. And the 8 day intensive, you live there, you eat there, you sleep there, and you go to workshops and you go to seminars and you like immerse yourself fully in this writer life for these 8 days in the summer and 8 days in the winter. And
Wow.
everything in between was independent study with your mentor who you met on the island. And it sounds crazy, and it was crazy. And I just loved every moment of it. And that is, again, the whole setting for a storybook wedding is that structure of an MFA program. I think low residency is the best model for someone like me who has a family where like the co-parent, like my husband, is okay to take the kids for 8 days, more than 8 days, and we're gonna have a problem. Like, right?
Mhm.
Like file for
Right.
divorce. Just kidding. But you know what I'm saying? Like more than 8 days is gonna be a lot. But
Right.
if I were to add full-time school on top of full-time work and full-time being a mom, I just wouldn't have the commuting time even, just to
Mm-mm.
get to those places. So that structure worked really well for me.
Not to mention your head may explode.
Absolutely. And I won't do good at any of it, right? Like I won't be a good mom,
Right.
I won't be a good worker, and I certainly won't be a good writer. So, yeah.
Right. Well, that's really interesting. Sign me up. I want to be a writer. I want to
It
go
was
to the
so
MFA
fun.
program.
And doesn't it sound like so like interesting? Like, ooh, we're going to
It
the
does.
like it sounds so, just different. And it
Well, it
was.
really does. It seems that they really know how the creative process works, and they
Mhm.
really kind of try and cater to that. Like that writers are creatives, It's interesting because writers are creatives and they're academics, very much so both. But, you do need to cater to that creative side.
Mhm.
And on the last note, I do want to talk a little bit about return on investment of this
Mhm.
MFA in creative writing because I know that school is expensive. And so, considering the cost of tuition versus the potential financial and professional benefits, how would you just speak to that and say, what did I get out of it versus, what I spent on the program?
So it is expensive. Yeah, there's no way around that. And that's why I feel like the best way to say this is you get what you pay for, right?
Mm,
So like if I were to give you a free gym membership on January 1st, what is the probability that you would still be going to that gym on February 1st? It's very low. And the reason why is because there's no perceived value because you haven't had any skin in the game, right?
Mm,
So I think the more skin in the game that you have, it's almost like it serves you, like you serve yourself by spending money on something.
right.
So if you're willing to commit to it financially and you're willing to commit to it from a time perspective, then you just have to go all in. And if you do that, the more you put in, the more you'll get out of it. So I think it's a very personal decision. Obviously, I think it's a very personal question, that return on investment, because obviously, it's up to you to make that decision to go all in like that. But I think, it's going to be as worthwhile as you make it. But that's the
Right.
same for everything in life, like every opportunity that you get. If you give 100% of yourself to it, then it's going to be a worthwhile investment. And if you don't, then you get what you give. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, no, that's great feedback. So, yeah, I think it's just what you're looking for. And if you want to pay for it, you're going to get out what you put in.
I learned so much, and it shaped who I am as a creative and as a human and as a mom even, and like all of it. It was such an amazing experience, and I would not trade it for anything in the world.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much, KJ. That was great info. And we learned a lot today about MFAs, Masters in Fine Arts.
Yeah. Happy to be here. Thank you again for having me.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into today's interview with romantic comedy author KJ Micciche. Be sure to check out our website for more videos. Wishing you all a fulfilling and successful writing journey.